My brother vanished from our house, and I found him trapped in an endless maze of yellow walls and buzzing fluorescent lights. It all started when Jake went to grab snacks from the kitchen at 2 a.m. I heard his footsteps, then complete silence. When I checked on him 20 minutes later, he was gone. The front door was locked, the windows shut, and his car was still in the driveway. He had literally disappeared into thin air. I searched everywhere for 3 days. I called the cops, posted on social media, and checked hospitals. Nothing. Then I remembered something strange Jake mentioned before he vanished. He said he felt like he was being watched in our basement, that sometimes the walls looked different. So I went down there with my phone's flashlight. In the corner behind our old couch, I noticed the wall looked slightly off. When I pushed against it, my hand went straight through. It was like the wall was just an illusion. I stepped through and found myself in an impossible place. Endless hallways with wet yellow wallpaper, ceiling tiles that seemed to stretch on forever, and a constant electrical humming that made my skin crawl. The air smelled like old carpet mixed with something metallic and foul, as if decay lingered in every corner. I walked for what felt like hours, calling Jake's name. Finally, I heard him crying from somewhere deep in the maze. When I found him, he was curled up in a corner, mumbling about things that hunt in the dark spaces between the walls. He looked like he hadn't eaten in weeks, even though he'd only been missing 3 days. His eyes were different too, as if he had seen something that shattered part of his mind. Getting out was harder than getting in. Some places don't want to let you leave. The thing about the Backrooms is that time doesn't work the same way, and Jake proved that when we finally escaped. We'd been wandering those yellow corridors for what felt like days, following the sound of dripping water that Jake swore led to an exit. My phone died hours ago, so I had no idea how long we had actually been walking. Jake kept stopping, listening to sounds I couldn't hear, whispering about entities that lived in the deeper levels. Then we found the staircase. It was just sitting there in the middle of a hallway, descending into complete darkness. Jake grabbed my arm and said we had to go deeper to get out. That's when I noticed his fingernails were gone, like he'd been clawing at the walls for months. The lower level was worse. No more yellow walls, just cold concrete and the stench of decay. We walked through corridors filled with standing water that reflected lights that weren't there. Jake kept talking to people I couldn't see, having full conversations with empty air. We found the exit in what looked like an abandoned office building. Just a normal door marked exit in red letters. But when we stepped through, we were back in our basement. Here's what terrified me most. My mom said we'd been gone for 6 hours. 6 hours, but Jake's beard had grown out like he'd been gone for months. His clothes were rotting off his body. And when we checked the calendar, Jake insisted it was 3 months later than it actually was. The basement wall sealed itself behind us. Sometimes I still hear that electrical humming coming from behind our couch, and Jake refuses to go downstairs anymore. He won't tell me what he saw in the deeper levels. 3 months have passed since we escaped, but Jake's been acting stranger every day. He measures every room in our house obsessively, writes down the dimensions, then burns the paper. He's convinced the rooms are getting smaller. Last night, he broke down and told me everything. He said the deeper levels aren't just maze-like corridors. They're alive. The walls breathe. The floors pulse like a heartbeat. And the entities down there aren't just monsters. They're people who've been changed by that place. People who went too deep and couldn't find their way back to being human. Jake described seeing a woman in a business suit crawling on the ceiling, her limbs bent at impossible angles, speaking in reverse. A child who looked normal from behind but had no face when he turned around. And something Jake called the caretaker, a thing that used to be human but now tends to the maze, adding new rooms and sealing off exits. But the worst part is what Jake told me about time. He said the deeper you go, the more time stretches. Those 6 hours we were gone, Jake experienced 3 months of wandering, starving, hiding from things that hunt in the dark. He watched his fingernails fall off from scratching at walls that wouldn't break. He said the maze showed him our house sometimes, projected on the walls like a movie. He could see me sleeping, eating, going to school, completely unaware he was missing. The maze was studying us through him. Now Jake measures the rooms because he thinks we're still being watched. He believes the maze is slowly replacing our house, room by room. I'm starting to believe him. Jake disappeared again last night, and this time he left me a note that made my blood run cold. The note was written in his handwriting, but the words were all backwards, like he was writing in a mirror. When I held it up to the bathroom mirror, it read, "The caretaker came for me. I have to go back. The house isn't real. Check the basement." I ran downstairs and found something that shouldn't exist. The wall we came through months ago was open again, but this time it was different. Instead of yellow corridors, I could see our exact house layout stretching endlessly in both directions. Hundreds of copies of our living room, kitchen, bedrooms, all connected by familiar hallways that went on forever. I stepped through and immediately knew something was wrong. The furniture was slightly off. Our family photos showed people I didn't recognize. The clock on the wall was running backwards. I found Jake in the 7th copy of our house. He was sitting at our kitchen table with the caretaker, a thing that looked like it used to be human but had been stretched and twisted into something else. It was wearing Jake's face but wrong, like a mask that didn't quite fit. Jake looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. He said the maze never let us go. We've been living in a replica this whole time while our real bodies wandered those yellow halls. The caretaker showed him the truth. Our parents, our friends, our entire lives for the past 3 months have been projections. The real Jake has been trapped in the deeper levels, slowly changing into something else. What came back with me was just an echo, a copy that was breaking down. He's going back to become a caretaker himself. Someone has to tend the endless houses now. Jake became a caretaker, and now I understand why the maze never lets anyone truly escape. I followed him deeper into the house copies, each one more distorted than the last. In the 15th house, the walls were breathing. In the 20th, gravity worked sideways. By the 30th, I found Jake standing in what looked like our childhood bedroom, but everything was melting. The original caretaker was there too, and I finally saw its true form. It wasn't some monster. It was a kid, maybe 12 years old, wearing a school uniform from the 1980s. It had been trapped for so long it forgot its own name, forgot it was ever human. Now it just maintains the maze, creates new levels, keeps the lost souls wandering. Jake told me the horrible truth. The maze feeds on human consciousness, but it needs caretakers to function, people who understand the layout, who can create new rooms and corridors to trap fresh victims. Every person who gets too deep eventually becomes a caretaker. The kid showed me a room filled with thousands of missing person photos. People who vanished into thin air over decades. All of them are still here, either wandering the endless levels or serving as caretakers in different sections of the maze. Jake said he volunteered because he couldn't handle the memories anymore. 3 months of being hunted, of watching people transform into things, of eating carpet fibers to survive. Becoming a caretaker means forgetting the pain, forgetting everything except the need to maintain the maze. He walked me back to the entrance and sealed it behind me. But before he did, he whispered something that made me realize the truth. The maze isn't underground. It's everywhere. Every building, every house, every room has the potential to become part of it. I'm writing this from my bedroom, but the walls look a little too yellow tonight. I finally understand what Jake was trying to tell me. The maze isn't a separate place. It's a layer of reality that exists everywhere, just waiting for the right conditions to bleed through. Every building, every room, every space humans occupy has the potential to become part of the Backrooms. All it takes is someone getting lost in the right way. I've been documenting everything for weeks now. The subtle changes in my house, how the hallway to my room takes an extra step each night, the way my closet door sometimes opens to rooms that don't exist, the electrical humming that's getting louder behind every wall. Jake isn't just building replica houses anymore. He's converting real ones, one room at a time. The maze spreads through familiar spaces, turning them into endless corridors while keeping just enough normal details to prevent people from panicking immediately. I found my neighbor's missing cat in my basement yesterday. It was sitting in a room that definitely wasn't there before, meowing at walls covered in that wet yellow wallpaper. When I tried to grab it, my hand passed through like it was a projection. The horrible part is I think I'm becoming a caretaker too. I keep finding myself measuring rooms, writing down dimensions, burning the papers. I catch myself humming along with the electrical buzz. Sometimes I wake up with carpet fibers under my fingernails. Jake visits me in dreams now. He looks peaceful, stretched tall and wrong, tending to endless hallways. He says it's easier this way. No more fear, no more confusion. Just the simple purpose of maintaining the maze. The wall behind my bed has been soft to the touch for 3 days now. Tonight it gave way completely. I can see yellow corridors stretching into darkness. I think it's time to join Jake.